You're at a networking event and you see a group of people in conversation and you want to try to join their conversation. Does that sound really scary? Yeah, it is. It does sound really scary, but it doesn't have to be. And in today's lesson, I want to share with you some surprising and very practical tips from an entrepreneur that I admire very much, Tim Ferriss. Let's go. Hi, I'm your English coach, Christina, and welcome to Business English with Christina, where you can grow your business and grow your level of English. Today, I'm going to share with you some great ideas from an episode of the Tim Ferriss podcast that I have listened to multiple times because it is just has so much good advice in it. The episode is, I think the title is How to Build a World-Class Network in Record Time by Tim Ferriss, and it's the kind of solid, unique, original business advice that you can access if you have a level of English that allows you to do business in English. And now, maybe you can't listen to the entire episode and understand everything because it's Tim Ferriss. It's like 2 hours, 3 hours long, but there is a transcript with it. And in today's video, the idea is for me to help you understand the key ideas so that you can use them for your business, but maybe also so that you can go and listen to that original podcast and understand it better. All right, let's get into it. Now, what I love about Tim's perspective on networking is that it's very manageable. Like anyone can do it. There's no, you don't have to be this magic extroverted professional networker. Well, I don't think professional networkers exist. I don't know. Maybe they do. Anyway, he makes it very manageable for normal people like you and me. And here's what he has to say. You don't have to meet everyone like a robot. You just need one good human connection with someone who can change your life. And, that's great news for those of us who maybe network in a foreign language or maybe just don't really enjoy meeting tons of people in one event. And, if we're worried that, maybe we won't have the right thing to say or seem like the most intelligent person in the conversation, that's okay. As Tim says, ignorance is bliss. It means that you don't have to know everything, and often maybe not knowing everything can make you a little happier, and it definitely can work in networking. In fact, a lot of people think that maybe in networking, they have to go in and show their expertise and show how much they know. But in fact, that can stop the conversation because, nobody wants to talk to somebody who knows everything. So if you're, let's say, taking this approach, ignorance is bliss, you're going into the conversation with the mindset of, I want to learn. I'm not here to show people how much knowledge I have. I'm here to learn from others. And that means other people, they like to share their knowledge. So ignorance is bliss. Don't feel like you have to impress people with your knowledge. And I also love, Tim's rules for networking. The first one is don't dismiss people. Treat everyone like they're important because they are. Now, don't dismiss people. It means don't assume that they are not important or that they can't help you or that they don't have something interesting to share. You never know. And networking is all about trying to discover that. And the second rule is don't rush. Like he said, you don't have to meet 50 very useful, interesting people. You just need to make one solid human connection, and that can change your life. Okay, so now that we've, talked about all of the mindset stuff about networking and how to approach it, how do you approach a group of people who are already in a conversation? It's almost like it's this fortress and you have to get into the fortress, but it's really a lot easier and a lot simpler than it sounds. So here is Tim Ferriss's technique with a few expressions that I have added for you, from, let's say, one entrepreneur to another who has to network in a foreign language. First, if you see like two people and they are deep into a conversation, don't interrupt them. It's probably not the moment, and they might be talking about something very specific to their business or a partnership or whatever. But use your best judgment when to approach a group and when to find maybe another group to approach. The best group conversations probably have maybe 3 or 4 people, because it probably means that, they're talking about something a bit more general. So when you find a group that you do want to approach, the first thing is to, just approach them slowly and just kind of come in, make some eye contact so that they welcome you into the group. And then, listen for a while, but then, ask them if you can be a part of their conversation. And Tim Ferriss recommends something like this. Hi there, I'm new here and I don't know anyone yet. Do you mind if I just hang out here and listen in on your conversation? It's kind of impossible for them to say no to your polite request, but it's just always nice to ask out of politeness. And of course, it can be just a little strange if you come up to a group conversation and you kind of stand there and you don't say anything. Like, that's just people are like, who is this strange person? Don't do that. Okay, now you remember that advice of don't rush. So this is where you want to take the time to truly listen to the conversation that is happening between the other people. And then when something that just catches your interest or catches your attention, that's the moment to ask a question so that you can become a part of that conversation. Now, okay, so what questions do you ask? Well, if you're listening and one person talks about an important choice that they made to work with like a web developer for their company, you can say something like, now, I'm not in tech, so I don't know much about how to pick the best developer, but I'm curious. Why was that person the best choice? Remember, the goal is to ask questions that encourage people to keep talking and to include you in the conversation, not to show how much you know. Or, I don't know, maybe the person is in the coaching industry and they talk about that they have just started offering their coaching program in English for the first time. You could say something like, so I have a question. I'm not in the coaching industry, but I'm curious. What made you decide to start offering coaching in English? Notice that these questions, they refer back to something that was previously mentioned in the conversation. So they're directly relevant and they don't, you're not giving your advice or you're not giving or imposing, let's say, your opinion on something. You're asking to know more about, why they made that decision or why they did something or how they did it. You're trying to get the conversation going, but not centered around you. Now, you may want to, be in a rush to get to, let's say, the part where you can find out if there's a business opportunity or a new client for you. But Tim Ferriss is really serious about taking this idea of not rushing the conversation, because nobody likes, someone who's just there to pitch their services or try to get new clients. So be patient as you participate in this conversation. Most likely, at some point, someone in that conversation will say like, hey, what do you do exactly? And you can give just a short answer. You don't have to talk about everything that you do. Here's the example that Tim Ferriss would give if he were in this situation. I'm new here. I just published a book and I can't figure out how to promote it. So I'm trying to solve that problem. Now, I really like this introduction for a couple of reasons. First of all, it is a way of talking about the product or the project or, something that you're working on at the moment in your job, but without, being arrogant about it, let's say. He says, I'm working on this book, or I just finished this book, so that people know what you're doing. But then he also, is a little humble about it and says, I'm not sure how to promote it. I'm trying to find some ideas or some solutions. So again, saying like, I'm doing this thing, so now you know what I'm working on. But I also know that I don't know everything, and here's a problem that I'm trying to solve. And then that means that the person listening to you can take the conversation in a lot of different ways. They might ask for more details about, your project or the book or whatever you're working on, so you can tell them more about it. If you're trying to solve a problem, maybe they have an idea, or maybe they know someone who can help you. So it's like you come away with something very useful and very concrete. As I always say, if you don't use it, you lose it. And here is how you can immediately use what you've learned in today's episode. Try making your super short introduction. Start with something about the project that you're working on or what you have just finished. And you can start with, I just, and then fill in your answer here. It can be something like, I just started a company. I just launched a new product. I just started testing, I don't know, YouTube Shorts, for example, whatever you have just done or just started working on. And then say what you're trying to figure out next. So you can say, and now I'm trying to figure out, for example, I'm trying to figure out how to promote my business, how to reach a wider audience, how to find more clients, whatever. But that's the main structure. And you can put that in the comments. Of course, your answer will depend on your business, on what you're working on, all of that. But this is the opportunity to practice and to try out this super short introduction that is fantastic when you have to go and network in a group conversation. All right, and if this lesson was helpful for you, I would love to know, and there are 3 ways that you can tell me. You can subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up so that more people can benefit from it. You can go over to my blog and sign up for the newsletter because you will get quizzes that go with the weekly videos. You'll get invitations to free masterclasses, other bonus resources that we send only to the people on our newsletter. And you can go ahead and watch this next lesson, which is all about how to sound more advanced in English. So maybe to help you get a little more confidence when you're going to approach people in a group. And of course, thank you so much for learning with me, and I'll see you next time.